Hi, this is Abhishek Goenka. Today I will be talking about data validation done in MVC3 framework. Let's get started with a new application. I will select ASP.NET MVC3 web application and I will give a location. Okay, I am creating a new solution with the name of data validation. I want an MP template with a Ragger view. Okay, here we go. So we have a controller, model as well as view. So in order to get started, let's first create a database. So let's add a folder, app data, and let's create a database. I am selecting local database and I will name it to store. Okay, so let's create one table. Customers. Okay, let's go ahead and create a class for this table. Let's first create a new class with the name of customer. Okay, so first property would be ID. Okay, here is my customer model is created. Now let's go ahead and create an entity object. So again one more class, entity. Entities. In order to use entity framework, we need to drive it from DB context class. Let's go ahead and add a reference for entity 4.1 framework. So let me select a location. So here is the location. If you have already installed entity framework 4 or any higher version, you do not have to select this assembly, but as I have not installed this framework in my system, I am going to select assembly, and now it should get resolved. Yeah, here we go. db set customers. Okay, this is done. Now what else left? Yeah, let's create a controller. I will name it to home, and I want a default index page, and let's create an index page by default. Add view. I need a Ragger view with a strongly typed view. That would be my let's compile the application first. Add view, index, create a strongly typed view. Let's select a customer, and I want create template. Okay. Okay, here we have our full template ready, and what else? Let's create a method to save the data which was submitted by the user. So it would be action result x customer model state dot if model state dot is valid, it means that we do not have any errors in the view. Have to create an object for our entities. So let's go ahead and create an object for entity. Private entity equal to new store entity. Okay, so entity dot customers dot add cost, and let's save this entity dot save changes. Now let's redirect the view to some other place. So return view so let's return to list, and in case of any errors, let's return to our old page. So return view default. Oh yeah, we need to return the data as well as data also. So let's return cust table because we want the old data to be retained. Now we do not have this list view defined currently, so let's create a list view. So one more view, that name should be list. It should be strongly typed and it is going to show the list. Okay, here we go. So we are ready to go ahead with the application. I think I forgot to add connection string, so let's go ahead and add a connection string. Okay, oops. Okay, it is throwing the error because there is an ambiguity between the index and index method. So let's add a http post attributes, and now let's recompile it once more. Let's see what is the output. Okay, here we are. So I can give my first name, last name, country, and say create. Yeah, I have not added, I am not passing any model. So let's pass a model dot customer, and let's compile the application. Okay, okay, now let's add a record. Okay, so we have added our record successfully, but you can see now we have not done any validation so far. So I can input anything, or even I can leave the blank. Even I can leave blank and submit, and my record will be saved. So now let's go ahead and do some kind of validation. So go to customer model class and say first name, I want this to be required. So Let's resolve it. First name is required, last name is required, email address as well as country. All the fields are mandatory, and therefore I kept required attribute to all the field. And now recompile the application. Create. Oh, let's fix it up first. Okay, so let me, if I leave these fields blank and try to create it, all will blow up with errors. And now it is mandatory to add values in all these fields, and all these values are checked on the client side, so no server round trip is there, so it is as good as it was earlier. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do some advanced validations. Say I do not want first name to be more than 100 characters, so I will say I want only 100 characters, first name as well as last name, and email should be only 50 characters. I will leave country as it is. Let's recompile the application and see whether it works now. Refresh it. First name I want to give, last name I will give to some bigger string. Let's save it up. See, we got the error as the string length cannot be more than 100 characters. But currently you can see that I can enter any email address, for example AS, which is not a valid email address, and it will save it up. So now we need to do some validation around email address. So let's use regular expression, as we do not have any standard attribute defined to validate email address. Compile the application. Refresh it. First name, last name, and see, I will, if I try to give some invalid email address, it will blow up with the error. But you can see that the error what we are getting is not throwing any user friendly message. So let's go ahead and modify this message. Error message. Not a valid email address. So rebuild it. Let's give some invalid email address and see. Now see, we are getting the error message that we defined. So this is how we can customize our error messages if we do not want the default ones. We have created some basic validations. Now let's go ahead and create some advanced validation. For example, my first name should not contain more than 2 words. So let's test it up. By default it can contain as many words as you type, but the string length should be less than 100 characters. Yes. So let's go ahead and create the validation rules so that it can have only 2 words at a time. So currently we do not have any fixed validation defined for this one, so we need to go ahead and create our custom validations. I will add a class. Word count. Validation attribute. Let's create a new class known as word count, which will be derived from the validation attribute. Okay, and let's override its isValid method. We will be writing our validation logic in this method. So let's add string value equal to value dot to string. Okay, so let's add a property to get the word count from the user. So it would be in a constructor, and I want to have an int and count. Let us add in the private property. Let's add this dot count equal to count. Okay, if as well dot let dot length greater than word count, okay, return new validation result, error message, too many words. Let's see. Okay, now let's use this attribute in our model class. It should not be more than 2. Rebuild the application. Refresh the screen. Now if I define more than 2 words, it should blow up the error for me. Yeah, see, too many words. But if you want to change this error message, you can go ahead and change it up. Let's modify the error message, recompile it, refresh. But still I am getting my old error message. Let us check why. Okay, here we are good. Let's see the word count. Oh yeah, here we have hard-coded our error string, which is not good, for the enterprise application. So let's return the base error message. Okay, and see, we got the error message which was defined by us. So today we learned about the validations done in MVC 3 framework. I hope you all would have liked this video.